This has to be turned off. Wait, this Carol Swanson. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Right,
Hello,
this,
everybody.
wait.
We
Well,
just begun, Dan.
in this memorial dedicated to Donna Orange legacy for Gestalt therapist, we are moved and concentrated in this event that we have organized. And I will do an introduction in this event. And then I will also tell you how this memorial will be organized. So I will give you just everybody of you, I think, know who Donna was. And it's so I will not tell you many words about her, but I just tell you that Donna Orange was a philosopher and a relational psychoanalyst who dedicated her life to study and teach philosophy, history of psychoanalysis, and contemporary relational psychoanalysis. She has become significantly involved in dialogue with Gestalt psychotherapists. She had a brilliant career. Together with Stolorov and Atwood, Donna created the theory of intersubjective systems as a meta-theory of psychoanalysis. And according to this perspective, personal experience arises, persists, and is always transformed in relational contexts. Both the therapist and the patient influence each other. Donna invites us therapists to bring their whole selves to the engagement with the patient. In other words, therapists must meet their patients not only with their minds, but also with their emotions and souls. And furthermore, Donna Orange has advocated what she herself has called the ethical turn in psychoanalysis, drawing on the thinking of Levinas, who emphasizes the unpredictable reality of the other's face. Donna develops a new humanity of the therapeutic encounter, which includes the fallibility of the therapist and an innovative concept of ethical responsibility towards the patient. And finally, another important contribution to psychotherapy was her work on the climate crisis, calling on psychoanalysts to consider their relationship with the environment and their ethical duty to act to save it. She met Gestalt therapy in the 90s, thanks to her friendship with Lynne Jacobs, with whom she shared a love for intersubjective systems theory. And from her initial teaching at the Pacific Gestalt Institute, the Institute of Lynne Jacobs, she started to teach internationally in other Gestalt therapy institutes, and quite a bit in the institute that I lead, the Italian Istituto di Gestalt, where she taught for 10 years. At the same time, she engaged in a long-term study group with a few members of the New York Institute for Gestalt Therapy, and both Ruella and Dan belonged to this group. So why this memorial organized by the four of us? Me and Donna were supposed to meet on November 2024 in Milan to lead a conference on the similarities and differences between psychoanalysis and Gestalt psychotherapy. But unfortunately, she had an accident that left her no chance of survival while riding her bike shortly before leaving for Italy. So on Saturday, November 16, she was declared clinically dead, and it was difficult to take her destiny upon myself, to use an expression by Levinas that she loved to quote. That conference was held all the same because it was too late to cancel it, but with the help of the people that you see here that were so kind to appear in that conference online just from one day to the other. And from that experience, from that shared tragedy. This memorial has been imagined and realized. I felt responsible, in quotes. So it means called to organize a goodbye where all the Gestalt community could see what she did, but also what she was for us. We were called to write a brief piece by Susan Fisher, the editor of the Gestalt Review. Also, I think that Lynne wrote another memorial for a psychoanalytic journal. I wrote an article for the journal Quaderni di Gestalt that will be published in English soon. And so we did many things, quite a few things. But now we want to celebrate because we needed to celebrate in one event of the Gestalt community a farewell to Donna. And that's why we are here. We know that she has been influential on many of us, and we hope that today we will remember her with many voices. We hope as many as possible. Today, it's possible for us to make her legacy more figural than the loss. For me, it wasn't possible for a long time. And I like to give you the schedule of this 4 hours that we will spend together. At the beginning, after this introduction, Dan Bloom will present his reflections, and then Lynne Jacobs. We have to switch the two. And then I will present my reflections, and after that, 25 past, whatever is in your place, we will have a break of 10 minutes. When we come back from the break, you will have your video on, so we will see all of us. And Ruella will take care of this part that will include a brief preparation to the breakout rooms. And the breakout rooms will last 40 minutes. And then you will come back in this group with the video on. And then we will have a second break of 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, we will have the final panel. We have called it in this way, but it's not a real panel. I mean, all of us who want to say something about Donna influence on their teaching in their institute will come out. There are 6 people who will say something. And also Donna's husband, Don, will say something, will participate and say something about Donna. Okay, so now I give the word to Dan.
Thank you, Margarita. And thank you everyone for this opportunity to reflect with you on Donna. I can't see your faces, but I am assuming and feeling your presence along with me. My brief talk is on the welcoming face of a radical ethics, which is my reflections on Donna. And having this chance to speak to you about Donna seemed like an opportunity for me to gather all my thoughts and impressions and gather the imprint of her on me, her friendship, her teaching. But a full catalog of that would be impossible. I am still taking measure of it, and I don't suspect I will ever complete that measure. So I'm here to include you into my reflections on Donna, and one of the most important teachers of my life, a colleague, a dialogue partner, and a friend. I'll speak to you about who she was to me and who she was to us, and to suggest that she embodied the welcoming face of a radical ethics. I met Donna in the early 2000s. I was speaking to Lynne Jacobs about how lost I was after my mentor, friend, and teacher, Richard Kistler, died. Richard left me with a sense of emptiness, a sense of wandering, without a sense of intellectual and clinical direction. With whom could I study philosophy and psychotherapy with now? Who could engage me in a way that I'm not engaged elsewhere at that time in my life. And Lynn mentioned Donna. Donna had a philosophy study group that might interest me. And of course it did. I heard of Donna, but she was a famous psychoanalyst who seemed far away, uptown actually in Manhattan, but far away, across the divide that I thought separated psychoanalysis from Gestalt therapy. But I felt encouraged by Lynn, who, since after all, herself bridged that gap. So I called Donna and she welcomed me into her group. She welcomed me. Welcome. That's the second time I used that word. Donna was welcoming, and even more, she was hospitable. And I mean these terms in a specific Levinasian sense that maybe I'll get into. No, not maybe, I will get into. She didn't welcome as if I were a guest at a dinner party in her home, but as particular qualities of who she was, which in time I understood to be the worldview of the philosophy and phenomenology she led us through. And again, Emmanuel Levinas. Donna's work paralleled Gestalt therapy's so-called relational turn. And over the decades I spent with her, I could track her deeper and deeper exploration of the limits of the prevailing concepts of relationality and her discovery of complex intersubjective dimensions that led to an ethical turn. Levinas's notion of infinite responsibility, and ethics of non-indifference, and the emergence of the ethical core, or the core of her understanding. And I will explain this in a moment. Over the years and years of her philosophy seminar, her phenomenology seminar, we covered most of the pivotal figures. Husserl, Heidegger, Merleau-Ponty, Gadamer, and a few less known, Günter Figal and de Cesare and Bernard Weldenfels. Our group continues to meet, and we continue to refer to it as Donna's group. While she led the phenomenology study group through these people, it was with Levinas that we lingered. She guided us through some of his minor works and, most importantly, through his magnum opus, Totality, Infinity, and Otherwise Than Being, which, believe me, are not easy texts to read. Levinas seemed to rise to the center of our attention, no matter who else we studied. Donna actually was writing a Levinas dictionary at the time of her death. She never taught us, she taught with us. She invited us to be curious and uncertain along with her. Margarita, you mentioned fallibility. That was central to her presentation of herself. We could always, and we can expect that we're never right. We were inspired by her curiosity and dug in just not as phenomenologists, but as psychotherapists, more and more committed to field-oriented relational approaches of our modalities. She was patient with my style of wrestling with ideas, and these days I reflect on my own transition in her group. I never stopped wrangling, but a kind of softness of style began to appear. It was as if I moved from being an intellectual boxer to being a Tai Chi thinker. And I blame Donna for this, and I am grateful to her. And as I reflect on our seminar, it seems to me that more and more we were opening a clearing out of which Donna's heart and sensibilities could become clearer to us. Donna embodied Levinasian philosophy, and this is why I titled my short talk about the welcoming face of radical ethics. Donna provoked a radical ethics of subjectivity, much in the way the face in Levinas calls into question the laziness of the sleeping self. Provoked, face. This is an ethics that, in Donna's own words, quote, is the pre-primordial ethics of infinite responsibility to the other. It is an ethics that is so fundamental that it precedes any sense of who I am, who we are, and even so elemental the very foundation of our world emerges. End quote. Radical root. In this ethics, we are besieged and persecuted by the other. Besieged, persecuted. Our relationship to the other is not some benign or benevolent respect for the other's autonomy, but the experience of responsibility that persecutes. This is a turn of our notion of empathy, isn't it? It's our responsibility that seeks us out, that persecutes us. In Levinasian's terms, I am taken hostage by the other, hostage by the other. I am subject, subjected, an ethical subject. An infinite responsibility. This is a responsibility with no limits. We are more guilty than anyone. And I always stumble over that concept, and Donna and I went back and forth on it for a while, and I still will. But so an ethics of persecution and hostages, how can this be? You have to read Levinas to find out. So Donna's clinical brilliance is that she took this Levinasian mouthful and offered us smaller bites. She made this specifically relevant to our clinical practices and even our sense of the world around us, the environment, the political and social suffering, and good Lord, we need her now. And someone said that Gadamer urbanized Heidegger, transformed his philosophy of being into a philosophy of conversation. Donna took Levinas's prophetic and Old Testament thunder and developed it, drew out from it its gentleness. She showed us that infinite responsibility doesn't require submission, that the most radical ethical demand can be carried with the deepest humility without surrendering our own needs and wishes. So how did this appeal to me as a Gestalt therapist? After all, my modality is sometimes characterized by a more or less aggressive therapist, and many of us have no stomach for this Rogerian reflection of mutuality. Yes, on a parallel track, we Gestalt therapists too went through our own relational inflection or turn. Parallel. Yet some of us Gestalt therapists, to us, the horizons of our relational approach needed to be pushed further than what had been accomplished by the integration of the I-thou and dialogue style into our practices. Dialogue occurs at the meeting of an I and a thou. Yet what constitutes a meeting within our field emergent perspective? When we consider this meeting in terms of an ethical field with intrinsic relationality that is prior to any sense of an I and a thou, we are in a mode of the Levinasian ethics. The intersubjective is prior to the subjective, and this prior is Levinasian's relationality and the radical nature of a Levinasian ethics, of a radical ethics. When you are my thou, I somehow blur your uniqueness with my own terms. I understand you on my terms. As my colleague Jean-Marie Rabin once said to me, and I think it was in a Madrid conference, Dan, I am not your thou. I do not belong to you. How interesting, how right. I'll never forget that moment. He has his hand on my shoulder. This approach makes us responsible to the other, who is intrinsic. The other is intrinsic in who I am. This is the next step beyond the I-thou meeting, or rather per Levinas, otherwise than an I and thou. a very moment footnote. Levinas and Buber had discussions throughout their lives about these topics. They went back and forth, and to look at them together side by side, you don't know which one you're reading sometimes, and sometimes you see there's a conflict. So hold them lightly, as Donna would say, hold them lightly, take them lightly, but let them continue to have their discussion. So here is a dimension inspired by Donna's radical ethics, and where it fits in perfectly with the Gestalt therapy ethics. Ethics and relatedness are two aspects of one primary whole. This dimension does not replace the I thou dialogue, but modifies it in a way that grounds it in a field emergent self. And none of this means we Gestalt therapists need to leave behind our aggressive and active presence in a therapy session, however we may choose to deploy it. Rather, Donna led me to understand that clinical willingness, undertaking the suffering of the patient, and a therapeutic presence that passes through, transcends active and passive, is an important evolution of our work. Otherwise than active, otherwise than passive, otherwise another take, ethics as the first philosophy, as Levinas puzzlingly said. The most powerful contacting includes hospitality as well as confrontation. This more powerfully matches the suffering we encounter in our practice and our world. At least it's so to me. A radical ethics. A radical ethics discovers an intersubjective world in which I respond to the other, to the call of the other. I cannot be deaf to that call. I cannot be indifferent to it. To Donna, our work is a response to the other as suffering stranger. She took that term from Levinas, and she made it a brilliant aspect of her work. In terms of a therapy relationship, we are persecuted by the other's suffering. The other takes no prisoners. In her words, quote, we are persecuted by the other's suffering, and our guilt shapes our willingness to go along with the other's suffering. Besieged by the other's trauma, we are re-traumatized so that the therapy relationship is a transcendence, a crossing over from a one-person stance to a communication from a one to the other. Oh, by the way, I've always stumbled over the word guilty too. Donna likes to quote Father Zesimov from Brothers of Karamazov, which also Levinas quoted. We are all guilty, but I am more guilty than anyone else. The essence of Levinasian philosophy is après vous, after you. And I once said in her seminar that if we all did that, no one would get up and leave the room first. We'd be endlessly here. Now that paradox is not resolvable. Yet we all did leave the room, and that is actually Levinas. You take care of yourself because you cannot surrender. You cannot be with the other unless you take care of yourself. The self, the I, never disappears in the Levinasian ethics, even though we must respond to this call of the other. This is also how Donna stood in the world alongside and at the same time ready to undertake suffering, clinical as well as human. I mean, humanitarian, climate change. So working with it significantly. Donna wrote, my life is not about me, but for the other. Not about me, but for the other? She went on to ask, quote, how can anyone, clinician or humanitarian worker, continue to live an ethic that never allows us to say that we have done enough, end quote. Ah, that's right. How can we continue to do this? How can we continue? So this brings me to face, and actually to the conclusion of my reflection, and I have a timer running, and I am really pleased that I'm not going to run over. For a change, many of us were lucky to see Donna's face in person, and we'll be looking at her face in photos today, and we're going to look at each other's faces. How could Donna's warm look of welcoming curiosity, which I think is inescapable, and that manner of humility that is a presence, a palpable presence that you can touch and feel in a place that transcends me and you. This was not a self-effacement, however humble she was. It's not a self-effacement. How could this provoke, though? How could this provoke a radical ethics? To a Levinasian, face is not merely eyes, nose, and mouth. It's not what we see when we look at a mask or in the strange robotic face of an AI taking human form. To a Levinasian, that is not it. It is more. It is otherwise. It is the vital gestalt of a person. The whole presence, blood and soul of the other. The face demands its glance falls upon us. It calls to us in words we cannot hear but cannot not respond to. I was unsettled by Donna, both by her humility and her warmth, and by what we've been talking about. Her presence and her style, patient and humble, disturbed me. Her readiness to take on all suffering, all varieties of suffering. She urged me without urging to confront my own indifference, social, towards climate justice, for example. My own indifference. She and Levinas pointed me to the simple, radical truth that one cannot be indifferent. Our non-indifference to us, the other, and the world is one of the markers of what makes us human. And there's a Heideggerian echo there that Don and I used to go back and forth on. I more of an advocate for Heidegger, she more of a just critic of him. Levinas also was constantly in dialogue with Heidegger, but then that's another matter. She, Donna, provoked me to come to terms with this world, not as an innocent bystander, but as an implicated bystander, and to be more and more open to the web or network of radical ethics. So Donna disturbed me. Her humility crashed against my arrogance. But this is a story worth telling elsewhere, maybe, but not here. I cannot finish without reminding us, though, that Donna was not a saint. Pause for a moment, and I'm thinking about instances where it was very clear she wasn't. Her feet were on the ground. She breathed earth, and as wonderfully idealistic, it's a bad word, she never lost ground. She never lost sight of the concrete face. And she never didn't make a mistake. She never didn't blunder. And others can talk about that. I had less experience of that. But I guess it's the nature of an event like that to turn somebody into a saint, to canonize. I'm laughing at even the notion of Saint Donna. She wouldn't tolerate it. And I wouldn't dare say that to her, actually. It would be an insult. So maybe when we hear from the rest of you about Donna, these gaps will be filled. And certainly, though, these pictures of Donna that will be shown to you today and sketched by me today. These are all incomplete. And incomplete, well, you know, Laura Pearl said the only thing that is complete is death. I don't think Donna's complete. Um, she's not complete, though she is dead. It's the task of the remainder of this event for us to continue this discussion with your own input. And I am really looking forward to the time when I will see your faces on the screen, see your rectangles assemble like an mosaic, and be able to touch you the way I touch people online. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to reflect with you on Donna. Um, it's a reflection that will continue just as it has never stopped since I met her. Thank you very much. Thank you, each of you. And actually, always thank you, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, I shall go next.
Yes.
Okay. Dan, you've helped me get my mind organized. I've, been asked as Donna's friend to say things in various settings, and I've got these sporadic notions here and there. It's hard for me to pull together a missive the way you've just done. So thank you for covering Levinas especially. And my ongoing conflicts with Donna were about the relative uses of Levinas and Buber. And of course, she preferred Levinas. Her chapter on Buber was a concession to our friendship. And we used to argue about the issue of reciprocity a lot. And I was finally able to come up with a sentence that helped end that argument. We never stopped arguing about Buber and Levinas, but what I realized is what we needed to be clear about with reciprocity was that if I don't see the other person as capable of reciprocity, even if they don't offer it, then I'm not seeing them as human. And when I said that line to Donna, then she got it, where our struggles had been, because she'd been writing as if, or writing and talking as if reciprocity was a given. And I was saying, no, that the possibility of reciprocity is a given. And she was saying you have to give to the suffering other. And I became sort of upset about seeing the suffering other in ways that robbed them of their dignity. If I didn't see them as capable of reciprocity, even if not with me. So what I've got, guys, is bits and pieces, because as most of you probably know, she was my friend for 30 years. We met in a philosophy study group organized by an analyst in New York. And the first personal thing she said to me was after a morning of very lively discussion, and we were walking over to get our lunch together, and I muttered kind of under my breath, I'm totally loving this, and I'm lost. And this voice from behind me, Donna's voice, says, I heard what you said in the room. You think in terms of categories. If you can think in terms of categories, you can do philosophy. And then we sat down and had lunch together, Donna and I, and that was the beginning. And Ruella had a similar experience, which maybe she'll talk about, but this was a quality of Donna's that I want to emphasize. She, and a lot of you have had this experience with her, will see something about you that marks you specifically as the human being you are. And she will comment on it. I'm talking about a positive, a life-affirming quality. So I want to bring that out. I also want to say I got the pleasure and privilege of watching her capacity for laughter and overt showings of loving laughter develop over the years. And Don is not signed on yet, her husband, but he was a big player in that. Don, in his playfulness, I don't think he's signed on yet, supported Donna's capacity for big, strong bursts of laughter, and her capacity to enjoy laughter in life grew because of Don. And so I wanted to bring that in. I'll also talk about some other things about her contributions to our world. Obviously, her big contribution was finding ways to speak to us that we could use clinically that also honored the ethics and the necessary mourning that comes with being a therapist. The necessary mourning being that we can never serve anyone as fully as they might need and as we might wish. This is true no matter whether you're a therapist or just a regular old human being. But one of Donna's perpetual hauntings was the question, how do we live with that? Okay. And the way I've come to my peace with it is you live with it through mourning and through accepting the limits of us being merely human. Okay. I know a lot of you learn a lot about being a therapist by reading literature. That was not my route. Part of my love for being with Donna is that I'm more drawn to philosophy, although I don't do philosophy well. I don't do it well. But being drawn to this book that I hope all of you read, the book she wrote called Thinking for Clinicians. My sensibilities through reading that book have become thicker, denser, more multi-layered when I'm sitting with a patient. And that's the book where she put in a Buber chapter. But what I owe to her in that book is this increased complexity of my own ability to allow myself to be affected by my patients. So I hope by the end of the day, you will consider getting that book if you haven't read it. I also want to emphasize something that Dan spoke about, and that's the chapter in one of her later books, the one on climate change in that book, and the one on racism. Those chapters really add something to our understanding of our mission in context, in the social context of racism and climate change. She talked a lot about implication, which is something that Dan covered in what he talked about. We are implicated in the suffering of the other, in that we cannot fully surrender to the suffering of the other. We cannot lose our lives in order to immerse ourselves in the suffering of others. There's that limit of we can't be for someone if we can't be someone. Okay. And this means coming to terms with a kind of shame, what she called guilt. And it's probably for me, and which Dan doesn't like, but I think of it as guilt and shame, this is something we must live with, that we need to, we need our shame and our guilt to have access to our shared vulnerability and to have empathy for ourselves and our patient for the degrees to which we dehumanize them by ending the session and going away and living our lives. Okay. That is a kind of potential abandonment that we have to live with. There's this tension of living, being good enough therapists and yet never enough. And that's a mourning that, again, we have to surrender to. And it doesn't mean we live depressed. but it means we accept a certain kind of mourning as part of the inevitable humility of facing the truth of our limits with our fellow human beings. Then, because my mind is, when I try to take account of Donna, I've got Donna as friend, Donna as teacher, Donna as fellow therapeutic teacher, because we taught a lot together. And it's hard for me to hold it all together without collapsing in tears, which might happen. So I'm going to read some things instead of just talk. And some of this is taken from something I've written for my analytic community, of which I'm a part. Imagine this. Imagine you're a candidate at an analytic institute or in a Gestalt Institute. You've been recruited to spend a few hours with a visiting analytic scholar of some repute who will be spending a few days teaching at your institute. And you find yourself lingering on a road that overlooks a sea cove with waves splashing against the rocks and the blue sky. And there's interesting greenery on the hillside. And you begin to enjoy a conversation together. And you find that you don't need to cater to the scholar's need to be esteemed, to be treated with great deference. Instead, the conversation is casual, playful, intimate. And this person seems to be as genuinely interested in you as you are in her. And you're not intimidated. That analyst would be Donna Orange, of course. Excuse me. When Donna was in Australia, I suggested that two friends of mine, a married couple who knew Donna's writings well, could drive Donna and her dear husband Don to some coastal sites. Sally described the conversation they had with Donna. In quotes, she was mundane, ordinary, and lovely, and I mean that in the most impressive way. We had a laugh, we ate together, enjoyed looking at the jacaranda trees on the North Shore, and just spent a lovely time with them both. I know that experience with her is familiar to many of you. Even in the smallest of meetings, in the quickest of meetings, you get a sense of her ordinary interest in you. Obviously, her supervisees and patients know how deeply Donna's attentiveness and connection could be felt. And many others knew her well, or even those who had only one or two conversations feel a special connection to their memories of a being with that lives as a treasure in one of the pockets in our hearts. As a philosopher, psychoanalyst, and teacher, she's credited with shepherding us into what has been labeled the ethical turn in psychotherapists and in Gestalt therapy. Now, I think in my Gestalt therapy world, we already had an ethical turn with Buber, but in psychoanalysis, it was Donna's interest in Levinas that helped psychoanalysis think in terms of the ethics of our everyday meetings with our patients. She taught us the humane power of a hermeneutical process. She certainly lived and interacted in ways that lived the credo she articulated. To call it an ethical turn honors her scholarly rootedness in philosophy, as well as her earlier years as a religious, a Catholic nun, to be precise. Personally, I prefer to simply speak of dignity, and Donna and I had many conversations and sometimes arguments about what is meant by dignity. Ethics, in quotes, has many discursive directions, some of which become abstract and impersonal. Donna, better than anyone I've ever known in the analytic world, was able to use the words of her favorite philosophers and then translate their sentences into words and phrases of clinically applicable wisdom. She used the words used that enlivened the philosophy, words that resonated with us bodily and emotionally. Donna taught us that therapy is applied philosophy. Applied philosophy moves us into living bodies, into movements and feelings and bodily sensation. And thus my preferred word, dignity, because the word dignity has a felt sense to it. It's not an abstraction. I'm not thinking about ethics when I'm in conversations with others. I'm not thinking about ethics when I'm with a patient. But my intentionality, my awareness is always directed toward my patient's dignity and their sense of their dignity or lack thereof. And we all certainly know the felt sense of shock, hurt, shame, and mortification that can occur in situations of indignity. Therapeutic conversation, in my eyes, is always a navigation through the waters of dignity and indignity. And Donna has lots to say about that in that book I'm recommending for you. The commitment to dignity that Donna demonstrated, whether in conversations with friends, acquaintances, or colleagues, was palpable. This didn't mean she didn't stand up for herself or for ideas, but she never, even though she knew so much more than I did about philosophy, she never argued from above. She argued with. Okay, and I saw her do that over and over again, not just with me, with others. In her work, she lived by the creed that she taught. We, patient and therapist both, are in this together. There are no wrong answers. There's only shared explorations. Any ideas we therapists might have, are always partial and fallible. She loved Peirce's fallibilism. You'll see that in the book. She loved it. We are willing to be vulnerable and admit to mistakes, and we work to understand and repair the consequences. Many of you know that Donna was also a cherished teacher and supervisor in our Gestalt world. This was written for analysts. And the ideas that she has brought to us are a welcome addition to the Buberian tradition with which many Gestalt therapists are already aware. She put more flesh on the bones when she added a good Gadamerian and Levinasian ideas about dialogue. And as you all know, she became a cherished teacher to Gestalt therapists around the world. She was equally cherished in psychoanalysis, although there was more of a competitive atmosphere from some analysts towards her. And one of the ways she stood up, by the way, is when Bob Stollerow, thinking about competitive, when Bob Stollerow and George Atwood wanted her help on a book. They were going to write a book for analysts who weren't necessarily going to be, for therapists who weren't necessarily going to go into analytic training, about their ideas about psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. And Donna stood her ground and said, no, I'm not going to be a gopher for you. The three of us will be equal authors or I will pass. That took some guts. And the three of them became the authors of the book. And the book is better for it because she wrote with the listener and the reader in mind better than Bob and George did. Okay. Ultimately, in her commitment to seeing and meeting and being with her patients' emotional twists and turns, and her willingness and ability to find life-seeking strivings, even in the patient's darkest shame, her patients developed a felt sense of their humanness that came from feeling seen. I've talked to many people who were supervised by Donna, and they say the same thing about the supervision, that they got a greater sense of their humanness and how it could contribute to the lives of their patients, and how well Donna could see them for who they were. So I wrote a piece for the Gestalt Journal, which some of you may have read, about Donna being a secret agent, a stealth Gestalt therapist. And this is where she introduced many people to her favorite pragmatist, a guy named Charles Saunders Peirce. And that has helped us all, I think, those who read this book, or worked with Donna, to refine what we mean by dialogue here and now. And in place of words like transference, and I'm teaching this in my analytic world now, or in place of words like transference or projection, she gave us perspectival realism. Transference and projection are concepts that fit well within a Cartesian worldview. But whether it's Gadamer or Peirce or you or me, Gestalt therapy swims in field theory and contextualism and perspectival realism, that is understanding that we are all shaped, our figures are shaped and bounded by perspectives that we have that fill our grounds, if you will. That's what Peirce's perspectival realism teaches. And the task of dialogue between me and my patient becomes, how can I take note of my perspectival limits and see if I can lean into the different perspectival limits of my patient, so that both of our world perspectives expand over the course of therapy. This is how we learn from our patients. Our own perspectival limits get expanded by having to expand in order to encompass our patients' perspectives. As I come to the end of this piece that I wrote for the analyst, I find myself thinking about which of her writings are my favorite. Although I must admit also that coming to the end of my piece, I also feel a tight sadness in my chest. It's in the writing. I love thinking for clinicians, and I think that if one reads how she makes use of her favorite philosophers to make sense of our work, you cannot finish the book unchanged if you read each chapter and reread it. For anyone who still struggles to understand the shift from a Cartesian to a post-Cartesian sensibility, there's also these chapters in the climate crisis, psychoanalysis, and radical ethics. That's the clearest explanation of the real world implications of the Cartesian worldview that I have ever read. It's a masterpiece. Also, much of Donna's writing explores the vagaries of shame, cultural shame, personal shame, and shame in the therapy process. Now, she knew intimately about shame. She learned its annihilatory power at a very young age. And I believed it remained a haunting until she died, although she got less and less haunted by it, partly through her marriage with Don, but partly just through her own growing, coming into herself and finding that she had something good to give to us, even though she was haunted by the limits of what she was able to give. She put her learning to good use, and we have all benefited. And I finished this little essay for the Psychoanalytic Journal with this question: which writings are your favorites? And I hope you all have some favorite writings of Donna that you may want to talk about later. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. There's a question for you, then you can answer in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to start with a video, few minutes of a video. I hope you see it.
Donna, hello, and thank you for having accepted to have this interview.
Oh, we are going to speak English?
Yes,
Okay.
in Palermo.
See?
It is beautiful
Yes, please.
place where you are leading a seminar in our School of Psychotherapy. So I'd like to have some dialogue with you about a few concepts that you have talked about today. And the first one is about the fallibilism,
Fallibilism.
which is a huge concept.
Yes.
And especially when you do some clinical examples.
Yes.
And you, for instance, the one of the borderline client.
Yes.
When he tells you, you have told me that I'm a borderline.
Yes.
And so and so. And you say you accept his reality, even if you don't remember that you have ever said something similar. And so you accept his reality and say, it's possible that you say that, even if I don't find this in my own experience.
Yes.
And so you accept his reality, his or her reality.
Yes.
What I would like to add to this is the aesthetic concept, how it can be combined. For instance, in front of a borderline client, I would have said something about the way she says that.
Yes.
For instance, I'm impressed by the dignity by which you say that.
Yes.
So this is for us Gestalt therapists the aesthetic concept, which goes along with the acceptance of the other.
Yes.
But it gives something more, I think, because it's a recognition of how the other is in contact with us.
Yes.
Would you like to say something?
I like very much what you are saying. I think it's a wonderful addition. In this particular instance, however, I needed to ask myself, since I did not believe this person was a borderline, and I did not think I had said that I understood that something had happened that between us that was problematic and had injured this patient. So I needed to find out the injury. So I just said, okay, so tell me what happened before I said this to you, because even if I don't remember, this is not important. This was a very fragile patient. She had just come out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But I think your intervention about the dignity with which the person says it it points to the protest against being dehumanized, which using such labels involves a dehumanization of the patient. So there is a dignified protest.
Yes.
And that you show respect for this dignified protest. And I like this very much.
Okay. This is sweet, This was one of our conversations where we discussed about psychoanalysis, psychoanalytical attitude, and Gestalt therapy attitude. But we both navigated in this idea that the therapeutic situation is a complex reality. And only by accepting this complexity can we truly understand the patient. I will approach a few concepts that we discussed in our meetings. The first is the concept of field or situation or system, because Donna's intersubjective field is the reality that is created in the encounter between the subjectivity of the therapist and subjectivity of the patient. So if for Donna, the field is created by the encounter between two subjectivities, in Gestalt therapy, we think that the field expresses the unitary nature of the organism environment reality, while the contact boundary expresses the movement between them, which leads to growth and individuation. So the field is a crying child, for instance, and the mother who cares for it. The contact boundary is the child who calms down with the mother's voice and the mother who smiles at him, confident that the crying will pass. So we have different definitions of the field, but complementary, I think. Donna paid great attention to the attitude that the analyst brings to the psychoanalytic engagement. She said that the analyst is an integral part of the therapeutic situation. And like us, she states that the field is constituted by the intersection and mutual influence of the experiential words of the patient and of the analyst. So much ahead in time, referring to Colburn, who wrote this in 2002, she affirms in 2006 that in the article about compassion and psychoanalysis, that a single person does not change, but the system changes. And we had some discussion also about the aesthetic, as you have seen somehow a little bit in the video, about the aesthetic intuition of the therapist. And I say to discussion like this, we spoke about the therapist herself sitting in the empty chair. Instead of putting the mother in the empty chair, the therapist sits in the empty chair. So, and fully entering into the patient's experience and thus allowing herself to be impacted by the client's relational pattern. This direct experience of the patient's world allows the therapist to modify herself in such a way to offer the client her own otherness, capable of recognizing the client's intentional movements and creative adjustment. So it's precisely this dance that creates the therapeutic change. And she liked this concept very much. And as you have seen in the video, she was very open to this aesthetic aspect of the therapeutic encounter. But Donna did also something else about the field or system. She broadened her idea to the history of humanity. She quoted Dostoevsky and Levinas when she stated that we are also responsible for crimes that none of us has committed directly, but from those effects we continue to benefit, whose effect we continue to benefit. For instance, apartheid, slavery, colonialism, the destruction of indigenous populations, and much more. So for Donna, it is important that every therapist feels the ethical call, like Dan has said very well, to take responsibility for the bad things that were done long before we were born, and from which we still profit and benefit. And she says this in the Suffering Stranger, the book. So this is an attitude of universal care that led Donna to take a personal stand on climate change and the responsibility we all have to save the planet. In the book, Climate Crisis, Psychoanalysis and Radical Ethics, she takes a stance. It's not about referring to a vain sense of guilt, but about understanding more deeply the micro interactions between therapist and patient. And she supported us very much in going deeper into this kind of feeling between therapist and client. And another aspect that I have learned, I have discussed with her, is about compassion and fallibilism. For Donna, compassion is primarily about the therapist's attitude towards themselves, accepting their own limitations. So she emphasized that being humble does not imply shame, but that we can only meet the patient if we also make ourselves vulnerable, if we give up our position of expert authority, but we do not give up our responsibility and open our hands and hearts, entrusting ourselves to the therapeutic process with this patient. Such vulnerability and emotional availability requires courage and many personal and community resources that Donna calls clinical humility. She also spoke about the chorus, inner chorus. And she wrote this in the preface to my book, The Now for Next in Psychotherapy. And I feel honored that she wrote that preface. So accepting that we are fallible and not being ashamed for our limitations leads us to a responsibility which is different from the narcissistic so-called responsibility, where there is a division between the fragility of the therapist and the responsibility of the therapist. So we can take a position of care that is genuinely focused on the other and not on avoiding our own fragility. And this is what she approached in 2016 in the conference in Taormina, where I think many of you were. Donna applies Levinas's concept of ethical responsibility towards others to psychotherapy, to develop a new humanity in the therapeutic encounter with a terrible awareness of the possibilities of good and bad, good and evil. We can hurt our patients, she said, without meaning to. A humble, realistic acceptance free from narcissistic guilt. It's a new way of seeing evil. Every human being is free and can frustrate us. Being human implies the freedom to do bad, to be bad, not just good, even if we do not intentionally want to. And it's precisely this ontological fallibility that allows us to be responsible in a new way, accepting our limitations. So this allows us to take on a human, humble, and realistic responsibility that does not detach us from others and does not require a separation between good and evil, between the ideal self and the real self, between the good therapist or mother or teacher or whatever, and the guilty healer. Donna spoke also about the development of the sense of self in contact. And this is with the idea of intersubjective systems with Stolorow and Atwood. She spoke of a sense of self that is that each person develops with a sense of things that are organized coherently, a set of relational expectations and principles. These organizing principles are familiar to us, as they recall Gestalt theory of perception, the creation of good, well-organized and coherent forms of Wertheimer, and also the organization of the experience of self that many of us have spoken and written about, like Ruella has spoken about the movement, the organization, the construction of the relational patterns of the self from movement, or relational themes. Lynne has spoken of this, or expectation of co-construction of experience, like Dan, myself, and others. Our positions on the evolution of the sense of self in relation are very similar and consistent. And then there is the contextual method and the here and now, two aspects. Donna belonged to the contextualism, a current of psychoanalysis, and following the hermeneutics of Gadamer, Donna talks about the intersection of mutual influence of the experiential words of the patient and of the analyst. In Gestalt therapy, in order to understand the patient, we must be inside their world, starting from their point of view. For example, a diagnosis of borderline experiential structure is not absolute, but must be contextualized within the personal and temporal specificity of a particular therapist and a particular patient. So it's not important to choose the absolutely right intervention, the absolutely right diagnosis, but to create together a dance made up of breaks and repairs, like Tronick has said. These relational aspects have been extensively developed within psychoanalysis, starting with the theories of Mitchell, Aron, Atwood, and Stolorov, and we need to work more about this. They could be equally developed and documented within Gestalt psychotherapy. Donna criticizes psychoanalytical reductionism, which she considers a temptation to simplify the complexity of existence. She says, expressions like Oedipus complex, the failure to mirror the nuclear self, etc., are answers we try to give to reduce the wonderful complexity of the therapeutic relationship. So she grasps the humanizing potential of contextualism, and in this she becomes very close to the humanistic ideals of accompanying the patient without judgment. Her philosophical training and human values led her to develop reflections that support compassion, the human support that the therapist gives to the patient. And we come to the concept of complexity. Donna Orange, therefore, introduces the importance of looking at the complexity of the clinical situation, starting from a critique of psychoanalytic reductionism or temptation of reductionism. She argues that as a defense against living in a world full of questions, the attitude that comes from Hobbes, the Hobbesian attitude of confrontation based on a reductionist system, leads us to fail to recognize the other as the bearer of equally important questions. So she draws on Prigogine, Bohn, and more recently Cilliers to speak about this, and we resonate with these statements, which lead us to the concept of figure ground that Donna considered herself to be more capable of explaining complexity than the theories of complexity themselves. So thinking in terms of figure ground rather than conscious unconscious allows us not to consider one part which is better or more rational or more sociable than the other. Rather, the therapeutic situation becomes an opportunity, like Jean-Marie Robin says, in which the things that happen express attention towards an intentionality of contact and not a defense. For Gestalt psychotherapy, we can speak of the reciprocity of dance, a drawing on Stern, Daniel Stern, that emerges in the therapeutic field or situation, supported by an intentionality of contact. So we have a parallel language, and we can describe the same process with our own language. Donna talks about trees that are as the figure and forests, the background, sharing with us the interdependence of the two and the impossibility of understanding one without the other. Although this is an obvious concept in our approach, I'm particularly attracted to her theory because she links the situational perspective and clinical complexity to the need for a humble attitude on the part of the therapist, who accepts the challenge of the preference or the other, who is never fully graspable and potentially capable of hurting us. Our humanistic soul resonates with this equal view of closeness between therapist and patient, and draws on Donna's reflections, a depth and renewed motivation for the humanistic value of our work. I believe that fallibilism and the aesthetics of the phenomenological field make a powerful mix. So Donna's theory, the fallibilism, and on the other side, our theory of the aesthetics of the phenomenological field. It's a powerful mix for therapeutic change and therapeutic alliance. And Donna Orange has made a significant contribution to Gestalt therapy. To conclude, I would like to say that Donna was instrumental in helping me appreciate the humility that can nourish the soul of a therapist and ensure a serious and grounded clinical attitude at the same time. Being in the therapeutic relationship as a means of supporting the patient's resources radically changes the ethics of our profession. We are not the heroes who provide the right technique or the right way to heal. We are fallible human beings who, with a professional competence, of course, stand by our patients. We can in this way accept the diversity of the other and experience humanistic closeness to the patient. Donna's approach to contextualism gave me a great deal of stimulus and scientific solidity to develop the contextual method proposed by our founders, which has never been explored in depth in terms of its revolutionary power. Intersubjective systems are a fantastic parallel for developing our concept of contact between organism and environment and styles of creative adjustment. She managed to criticize governments and their policies on the climate crisis as early as 2017, long before the pandemic and the war. She always advocated for a clinical approach that is connected to politics, helping us to maintain the spirit of social activism that is in our DNA. So we can be heard. Our voice can be heard in the world. I remember her smile, the support I always felt in her presence, even when we differed in our thinking. I will miss her sincere openness towards what, as a psychoanalyst, she felt was nourishing in our approach. I will miss her ability to affirm differences every time I took a similarity for granted. I cherish the empathy and compassion with which she spoke about her patients, with whom she worked when we conducted several live sessions together, each in the presence of the other. I hope that her vast, profound, and innovative research will continue to inspire Gestalt psychotherapists who want to develop the theory and method of our approach. Thank you.
I thank you so much, Margarita and Lynn and Dan. I'm very stimulated intellectually and certainly touched at the level of my heart. So I thank you for that. We're going to have a 10-minute break now. We'll come back exactly 25 minutes of the next hour, and we'll all see each other on screen. I say that for you now so you're not shocked, but maybe surprised. And I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Bye.
Yeah. So one more minute and then everyone comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And meantime, if we could just take a moment and look at each other.
Yeah.
See that people you know, people you don't know. I see people I know and I haven't seen in a very long time. So let's just take a moment. And if you look to the right of your screen, if you can't see everyone, you can press, click on it, and then you can change screens.
Oh, you mean if there's an arrow? Yeah.
If there's an arrow. Yeah, I forgot the word for that. Arrow. Thank you. Oh, good to see you all. And as we look around, just take a moment to see who you see, who you know, who you don't know. And now we'll look again, but let's take a minute to sit back and find our sensing, moving experience on the chair, which will help ground us for the next experiment that we'll all do together. So If you have a chair back or a sofa back, you can close your eyes or just glance down without dropping your head. And as much as you can place your attention, even though many things are happening now, many thoughts, there is still the back of the chair. Without fixing ourselves or changing our experience, just to find the back of the chair. As we touch the back of the chair, and it touches us. Touch, touching, touch. Here's the back of my chair. Here I am, pushing against the back of the chair as it pushes back. No matter what thoughts are coming and going, there is the back of my chair. Air goes in, air goes out. Nothing more, nothing less. And now attend to the seat of the sofa or chair. I'll call it a chair, but it could be a sofa, whatever you're sitting upon. I have my legs crossed, so it's my pelvis, my legs, my thighs, my feet. For some of you, pelvis and thighs. The weight, however you experience your weight, pushing against the chair and the chair receiving your weight. Air goes in and air goes out. Nothing more, nothing less. And your feet, if they're on the earth, how the earth, the floor, touches you as you touch the floor. How are you receiving the support? There's no right, there's no wrong. It just indicates where you are at this moment. It's a beautiful aesthetic phenomenological diagnosis. And perhaps find the place that you feel the chair, the earth most. And as you do, then unpeel your eyes slowly, your eyelids slowly from your eyes, still having the chair under you. Can we now begin to look? Maybe it's different. Maybe you see the person and their background as you enter into their experience, and you have them enter into yours. Take a look and see who's here for you, whether you know them or not. And notice if you're still breathing. Yeah. Here they are in their home as you enter their home. In the next experiment, you are all going to be in group of six people, and the group will be for 40 minutes. And then you're going to share with each other, after you've introduced yourselves, what you have taken from your experience with Donna, if you've been with her in person, or her writings, or maybe you've not experienced Donna through writing or in person before, but what you have taken that has perhaps inspired you, from which our three speakers have shared. What could be useful from what you've heard or learned from Donna, how you've integrated, how her work encourages you to be more open in the engagement with your patients. Maybe you're doing that already, and maybe you're thinking of how to do that more. Is what I'm saying clear to you? Can you just raise your hands? So I see. Okay. And if you have a question, please put in chat. We leave 1 more minute for that. Okay, again, you'll be placed in a group of 6 magically. And in that group, after you introduce each other, what have you learned from Donna, from these 3 participants, from these 3 presenters who have spoken, what you've taken in from other readings or being with Donna that encourage you to be more open in your relations with your patients or with your partners, your friends, whatever. Okay, Maria, sorry to lose you. And if you all feel ready, Marco, would you put everyone in the magic? And we'll see you in 40 minutes. This useful? Was this useful for you in the discussion? Just show me if it was useful. Okay. We would love to hear from you in terms of what came up in these discussion groups. And take your time to come forward. You could also absolutely put that in chat.
Although I would sure like to hear voices too.
Yeah.
Not just our voices.
You just raise your hand and Marco will unmute you.
Yeah.
Miriam and Perry both have raised their hands.
Oh, yeah. So Miriam, can we unmute Miriam?
Also,
Marco?
Susan wants to speak, I think.
Okay, we'll unmute Miriam, Perry, and then Susan.
Okay, if Susan's hand isn't up, that would help.
Oh,
Go ahead, Miriam.
I think she's still mute. Are you muted?
Oh, you can't get.
Marco, can you unmute Miriam?
Maybe unmute everybody.
Yeah. Why don't we do that, Marco? Can we unmute everyone for now? And if there's some noise in your background, like a dog or whatever, can you mute yourself? Let's unmute everyone, Marco, and see what that's like.
Maybe everybody has to unmute
Miriam.
themselves. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Yeah, you did it. All right, Miriam.
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with lovely people from different continents. It was just amazing, and I think Donna would be astonished by that. Towards the end of our conversation, we quite surprisingly strayed into the territory of AI and how that feels like it's inevitably taking over the world, but the therapy profession. And we came up with the idea together that perhaps the best legacy to Donna is to continue to work against AI and to work informed by her ethic and her relationality and her deep humanity. So that idea kind of inspired me to continue against the pressure of something new.
Thank you. Thank you. Perry?
Yes, well, I want to add my thanks. I didn't know that I had raised my hand. I was thinking of it, and then my hand seemed to appear there. I don't know how to get it down now.
Magic.
I want to thank Margarita and you, Ruella, and Dan and Lynn for your contributions. I really liked in our group discussion how it helped clarify for me the content of our discussion and made more poignant the different thoughts that were kind of bobbing around in my head that I'm not quite settled and clear about. But so I very much appreciated your presentations um, uh, and liked all the things I heard about Donna and how she was. She reminded me of my mentor, Richard Kitzler, who would meet someone and seem to know them, or with me and many others I observed. And she had this quality of seemingly to be able to integrate who this person was in front of me, who I'm seeing and speaking to and feeling and sensing, and communicate that. So, and that's a wonderful, wonderful quality. I very much liked her emphasis on ethical relationality. And Margarita, you're mentioning the contextual method that she was involved with, and not knowing, the business of not knowing and what that means for us and her. And I would have liked to have heard a little bit more on her psychoanalytic perspective that differentiated it from our Gestalt therapy perspective, because I know there's a cutting edge there. And I'll work to read over what or hear over what you've already presented to differentiate that more. So the talk was helpful in integrating what you've said, very appreciative of it, feeling very pleased and interested as we dialogue more.
Thank you. Susan, did you have your physical hand up? Yeah. I think you're muted, honey. You have to unmute yourself, I think.
I don't think I raised my hand.
No, it's a different Susan.
It's a different Susan. That's okay then.
You cannot, I apologize. You can't unmute yourself. Marco, can you unmute everyone, please? Okay, we'll come back, Susan. Carol, can you unmute yourself?
I think I have.
All right, and we'll figure it out with you, Susan. I don't know why. Okay. Carol.
I was looking forward to this as hopefully a support in moving through my own grief, and my group was quite lovely. I'm a fellow cyclist and had cycled with Donna a couple of times. So how she died has hit me very hard. And one of the members of my group said to me, I think you need support around this. And I certainly minimize the support I need. And so it was a real bullseye that she saw that. Grief comes unbidden, and there was a lot of support I felt at my group. And I feel like it'll be a real support in moving through my grief about Donna's death, and particularly how she died. So I am grateful to have this time.
Yeah.
Carol, have you seen the video done by a news channel that interviewed people from her biking club? I think
I have not. Oh,
I can find it and I will send it to you.
Very much appreciate that.
Sure.
I did see some memorial service they had kind of at the crash site. Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I have seen it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carol. Susan, I think you're unmiked. Susan G.
Can you now hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Carol, I'm so moved. Thanks for being here. The thing I wanted to say back when I first raised my hand was that I wanted to pause and take a minute to look at all the pictures of everybody. So I've been doing that as we've started this conversation. And I've appreciated seeing everyone here and hearing the voices. That's what I was asking for when I first raised my hand. I'm on my phone today because I have no internet service today. And so that's why I'm struggling with finding out like how to do things. It's not the same as when I'm on my computer. So I apologize. Thank you for the three speakers sharing so much intellectual information and personal information. And I was glad to be able to hear you and felt moved at various moments by each of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you found your unmute. And I know it's harder to see everyone on an iPhone. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say something, Laura?
Please.
Yeah, I'm
Just
sorry, I can't
identify
find
yourself. Just wave so we can see. Yeah, Richard. I thought I recognized your voice. Okay.
Yes, sorry, I can't find how to raise my hand, so thought I'd just speak. I just want to resonate with the last couple of speakers and what came out for me in our small group was the closest connection I have with Donna is the keenness for cycling. And I certainly like to see that video as well, Lynn, if I may. And I was deeply touched when I heard very soon after she died about the way she died. And I would use the term killed because I know how dangerous it is cycling. So for me, she was killed while she was cycling. But whether that's very accurate or not, I don't know. So that was real close resonance with me. And of course, the other two speakers have the same resonance as well. So I'd be interested to hear more about that. Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Why don't I explain how she died? And Richard, send me your email address. I'm at lmjacobs@mac.com.
Yeah, I'll find it. Yeah.
So she was right near the end of a training ride because she never did anything halfway. So she was training intensely for a next endurance, a long distance race, which is what she liked to do. And she was pulling up to an intersection, and unfortunately someone else was coming in the opposite direction and wanted to try to beat the light, so they turned left and ran into her, over her. So she ended up with broken bones over all of her body, and it was clear after a few different consultations with different doctors that even if she somehow survived, it would be a life not worth having. Brain injury, feeding tube for the rest of her life, a whole bunch of other stuff. So they decided just to let her go. So she had the green light. Don, her husband, made clear, saw videos. Must have been a terrible video to watch. But he saw that she had the right of way, and the person driving the van just didn't see her, I guess. And that's how it happened. And it was right at the end of her trial run.
I know it was hit and run, Lynn. Did they ever ascertain the person?
Oh, yes, it wasn't hit and run, it was hit.
Oh, I had understood it as a hit and run. The person who hit her stopped.
I don't know if they stopped right away, but yes, they've been talked to, the police, etc. I'm pretty sure the person stopped. So she did say to Don once, this is the way I'd like to go, is riding a bike. But she meant a heart attack. She didn't mean being hit by a car.
Can I
Yes, please.
speak for me? My name is Carol Orange, and I'm Donna's youngest sister.
Oh, thank you for being here. Yeah.
Hi,
Thank you.
We met at her wedding years ago.
Yes, we did. And well, I want to thank the organizers and the speakers for the things I just learned today about her impact on your work, and also the group I was in, just to hear how people are interested in her work. I was astounded to my brother-in-law Don sent me the information or forwarded me the email about this event. And for me, it is a great honor just to hear what an impact she had professionally. And I'm so honored that all of you have come together months, almost a year now, since she passed, to remember her influence. And I could speak at her ad nauseum, but that's not what today is about. But I do want to just extend my gratitude for this gathering.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. It's very nice that you are here.
Thank you.
So happy that you're here.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. And I will say one more thing, because I think there may be other interested parties here and would love to be in contact with some people. I've, of course, thought a lot about Donna over the last year and have become more and more aware of her work. And when you go out and look for information about her online, you can find videos of her speaking. You can find, which is very comforting. It's like I can hear her voice still, which is really a gift. But I feel like there should be a Wikipedia page, and I haven't been able to find one. And I am thinking about trying to initiate that project. And if there are others, especially you, Lynne, you were close friends and well connected to her professional information. That's something I would like to start an activity on. So
Is there a way people can reach you by email if you put in chat? Because I see.
yes, I will put my email in chat.
Mhm.
And but I just feel like her work was significant enough. There's enough information that her legacy should be there.
Yes, brilliant idea.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, put your email in.
I sure will. Thank you very much.
And I hope Carol or Dave, or Richard, or somebody will take up the mantle of also writing about bicycling. That would be part of what's on the page. Did you put your email in the chat, Carol, by the way?
Julie, you are muted.
I'm doing it now.
Say something very quickly. We all were impressed by both Donna's intellectual capacity and her human capacity. And I once remember her saying that you, Carol, the younger sister, you were really the smart one in the family.
I have to argue that point.
How smart of you.
Donna was the oldest of 10. I'm the youngest. And I have been logging a complaint in my family for years that when the children went through the line and decided what they wanted to take out of the buckets of things you can have, maybe athleticism, maybe brilliance, etc., that the older siblings really emptied the bucket on the brains and left us with very little to work with. And I used to end that with, you know, I was a little resentful, but now all I can say is she didn't waste a minute making full use of her capacity.
Julie.
And my email's in the chat now.
Yeah. Julie, did you want to say something? There, yeah, please.
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Carol, I thought this might be interesting for you too, since you're hearing about professionally the impact she had on all of us and some of us personally. But one of the appeals, like to me, and I think a lot of us about Gestalt therapy, is how we're working on being better clinicians, but we're also always working on our growing edge as a person, as a human. And in our group, we were talking about how, it's emotional for me, how your sister talked about with such an invitation to be free, to bring your full self, your full person to our sessions, and that we could handle our limitations, we could manage our shame and our guilt and stay connected. And that those relationships were mutually nourishing. And that as we were modeling that for our patients, it was also that experience was being modeled for us. So our patients are taking that out into the world, and we're taking that out into the world about being able to be freer, more expansive, and be interested and handle when there's disruption or we're bumping up against others. And to bring real interest to that and the vitality that goes with that, I think for sure I can say you can see how important that was for me. I don't know how much of your sister's writing you've read, but there's a piece in which she talks about swinging from the chandelier. And I think about that image in my work and when I'm struggling about how expansive I'm going to be in my relationships, loved ones, friends, etc. And so I want you to know your sister's work was really deeply personally impactful, obviously for me, but I think for a lot of us. And that I think this is also how the world changes, which I think she was aware of that. It's one person to one person, and then all our patients are going out in the world. We're all going out in the world, and that this will make an impact.
Thank you.
I just need to check Richard D. Do you need my email address?
Richard.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'm going to put it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Also, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Talia. I think I'll say something. Someone earlier wrote something about Buddhism and similarity between what people were saying. And it reminded me of a story that Mark Epstein talked about. Mark Epstein, psychoanalyst, parentheses, really secretive Gestalt therapist, who was studying psychiatry in Harvard. And he went to visit Ram Dass when Ram Dass was in Hawaii. And he was saying to Ram Dass, oh, this one is suffering of this, and this one is suffering of that, and I don't know what to do here, and this one's that. And Ram Dass said, don't they know they're already free? Don't they know they're already free? And I think it's something of what we're saying to help Donna, helping us to help others discover that freedom of creatively adjusting and becoming their authentic, dignified selves. I like that story, so I wanted to pass it on.
Thank you, Ruella.
Thank you.
Talia, I want to offer lots of support when you leave.
I think she left.
No, I'm here.
Where?
Thank you.
Okay.
touched.
Yes, Talia. Mhm.
It's very important, Ruella.
I know.
Thank you.
Mm.
We need Donna's teachings and her essence more than ever.
Sorry, Tali, I want to say it again. I'm touched by what you're saying, and I hope you can take a part of my heart with you to that. I support you entirely, and I get a sense of what's going on by even looking at you now.
Yeah.
Be well and be safe.
Thank you.
Talia.
I'm taking you with me. I don't want to take away from this incredibly moving meeting. And I'm really pleased, Carol, that you got the chance to listen and hear. A lot of what I'm thinking throughout this evening is how much we don't realize that we need to cherish while it's still there.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
thank you all.
You may be leaving us, but you're also leaving something with us.
Happily. Thank you.
Jacqueline B. also wrote in chat, and I thank you for what you put in there, Jacqueline. Nancy, you're muted, honey. You have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Now I can. Good. I don't know if Tali's still here, but I wanted to wish her Shana Tova, and may this year be a better one than last for everyone.
Anyone else would like to say something about the work in your group? Or
I'll make this very brief. Donna called in. I have a seminar for clinicians using her books, not exclusively, but philosophical resources for clinicians. And in introducing her, we were reading her book, so I didn't need to go on and on about that. Her reputation preceded her. So I just said, and I love her. And then later I thought, oh, was that appropriate? Well, I'm so glad I did. And I think following up on what somebody said a moment ago about letting people know their impact and our care now is important. And so I'm glad I said to Donna in this seminar in my introductory remarks that I loved her.
Ruella, do you think that we can have a break before?
Yeah, I think now we have a 10-minute break, and please come back, and we'll have other people who have worked with Donna share for a bit. All right, see you in 10 minutes. You do the numbers because I'm bad in math, but you can figure it out.
5 minutes after the hour, folks.
Okay. We are recording. Ruella, you were saying something?
That now we talk to people from other institutes who wanted to share.
Oh, yes. Okay, I want to. Rosemary is not here, right? I like to tell you about. I did a research on where did Donna teach in which Gestalt Institute she visited, and so I created some historic line, and in 2014 she taught in my institute in Milan with the topic of the humility of the therapist, Gestalt and psychoanalysis. In 2016, she taught in my institute again in Palermo with the topic My Other's Keeper. And in September, I think, there was the conference in Taormina with 1,300 participants with the cooperation of all the big associations, EAGT, IAGT, and other associations. And she spoke about the ethical turn in psychotherapy. Then in May 2017, she taught in Australia, Melbourne. And I have, I spoke with Leanne O'Shea, and she could not be present here because it's night for her. So she sent a video that we will see in a few moments. In 2018, she visited many institutes, my institute in February, with the topic of compassion And in Austria, she conducted 2 events, one for Gestalt therapists and the other for the Austrian Gestalt Institute. Nancy is here. I think she will say something better later. And she also gave a lecture in Vienna in the Circle of Psychoanalysis and Self-Psychology. Well, this is not specifically Gestalt therapy. In 2023, she taught in Spain a workshop during the summer, and Elvira Dueñas is here. She will speak in a while. And in 2024, she was no, she was expected in Milan, and then she had the accident. So we could start from, I don't know, who wants to start, Carol or Nancy? Miriam?
Well, I just
Yeah.
wanted to add to that list that I met Donna, I think in maybe 2008 or 9 when she taught a workshop on shame at Metanoia Institute in London. And in 2016, she presented in Bristol in the UK for a conference on working with refugees. So just to add to her esteemed list of institutes she's visited.
Thank you very much. I didn't know this. Good. So the first one was Metanoia, the first one in UK, 2008, you said.
Yeah, on shame, and I had the privilege of assisting her that time. Yeah. Well, I can't remember the exact date, but it was before 2010.
And one more thing that in New York, Donna and Lynn were the presenters at a inter-institute meeting, which included all of the institutes in New York and one from Philadelphia. It was a 3-day weekend.
Which year, Don?
And I don't remember, but it was, let's say that it was probably, I guess, I have to look it up.
2008, 2007?
Possibly. I won't say you're wrong.
Because I know that, yeah.
Yeah, that was, yeah, but it was definitely the Inter-Institute event.
Okay, thank you. Good. So maybe Carol, do you want to start, or Nancy, or?
Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, fine. I'll be speaking for Beatrix Wimmer and myself. Beatrix succeeded me as the head of the Austrian Association for Gestalt Therapy, and we both had contact with Donna over the years. We both first met her at the memorable EAGT conference in Taormina in 2016, where she presented a keynote, and Beatrix had just succeeded Gianni Franceschetti as the new president of the EAGT. In 2018, the Austrian National Organization for Gestalt Therapy organized for Donna to lecture in Vienna on climate, injustice, and psychotherapy. And we also organized for her to conduct a weekend workshop that included members of all 3 Austrian training institutes, which was really a premiere. Donna focused on the ethical call of psychotherapists to leave the comfort zones of their offices by questioning their own behavior and addressing themselves to climate issues and sociopolitical conditions of those most affected by the climate catastrophe. This lecture triggered Beatrix to start the EAGT working group on climate change and biodiversity, which explored how to raise awareness within our own professional organizations. Beatrix had also participated in a 2-year international study group with Donna, which explored radical ethics in depth and helped the members of the group to connect during the COVID pandemic. In 2021, the Austrian Association for Gestalt Therapy invited Donna again for a supervision seminar this time. We had to conduct this online because of the pandemic. We had participants from an international group. Our neighboring countries, Slovakia and Hungary, participated with the Austrians, and we worked in English. Both Beatrix and I were particularly touched by Donna's excellent article from 2006 titled "For Whom the Bell Tolls: Context, Complexity, and Compassion in Psychoanalysis." I referred to this article in my brief obituary for Donna in Gestalt Review. And for those of you who didn't read it, there are several obituaries in this issue of Gestalt Review from Dan, from Ruella, from Margarita. Yeah. Her emphasis on compassion and curiosity. Oh, from Lynne also, naturally. Her emphasis on compassion and curiosity about the other as the basis for her approach showed remarkable similarities to such Gestalt principles as relationality, authenticity, and allowing oneself to be called by the suffering of the other as an influence of the field. She often pointed out the mutual benefits of her working with Gestalt therapists. Her concept of the inner chorus and the importance of recognizing and working productively and openly with the fallibility of the therapist were milestones of realizations for me. After having read Heidegger and a book by Hermann Schmitz in the German original, Donna criticized both authors in her excellent article in the cluster on new phenomenology in Gestalt Review in 2018. Her article was called "The Seduction of Mystical Monisms, a Temptation for Human Dignity-Oriented Therapies." When Donna had a Fulbright scholarship in Vienna's Sigmund Freud Museum in 2018, both Beatrix and I enjoyed private contacts with her. She was included in an annual excursion of the Austrian Association for Gestalt Therapy, exploring Roman ruins in the open-air Museum of Carnuntum and dining near the banks of the Danube. My husband and I were fortunate to have Donna and Don as guests in our home on several occasions, one of which was when they visited Vienna for a formal ball. The joyous anticipation of this event was caught in several photos that I'd like to show you. Margarita has them. Maybe she can show them later on. Donna was a scholar who combined sharp intellect with sincere interest in other human beings and the socio-political aspects of the human condition. We cherish her memory, her wonderful humor and her unique laughter, her humility, her spot-on perception of others, her generous willingness to help, her determination to ride a dilapidated bike from Vienna to Bratislava, where our colleague Jan Barks fortunately picked her up. We're deeply grateful to have encountered her. Donna was a beacon of living life to the fullest within a community of others pursuing similar goals. She was a mensch in the truest sense of the word, and we miss her terribly. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy and Beatrix. Shall I show the picture, Nancy?
Please. please.
Oh,
Do you want to say something about this picture?
This was just in a an entrance to my office. They were staying with us in Vienna. They were going to a formal ball and they were very excited. Donna said, "Oh, Don is such a fabulous dancer and I can't dance. I hope I can keep up with him." And it turned out that they had a wonderful evening and she danced together with him and they had a great time. And they were so excited beforehand. We just took a few photos and I thought I would like to share them with you.
It's very nice. Okay. Okay, maybe was the Spanish group. Do you want to, are you ready? Elvira?
Okay, and Elvira will read something in Spanish and I will translate. Okay?
Yes, yes, yes. David, thank you.
Yes.
Gracias a todas las personas que habéis organizado el evento.
Thank you to everyone of you who have organized this event.
Es un honor.
It is an honor.
Supe de la existencia de Donna hacía algunos años a través de mis colegas y amigos Guy Pierre Tour y Jackie Andrés y soñé con conocerla algún día.
I knew about the existence of Donna some years ago through my colleagues and friends Guy Pierre Tour and Jackie Andrés, and I dreamt of meeting her someday.
Y la vida nos dio la oportunidad el verano pasado.
And the life gave us this opportunity last summer in 2024.
Aceptó mi invitación para venir a Valencia a animar nuestro seminario de verano de terapia Gestalt.
She generously accepted my invitation to come to Valencia to lead our summer seminar of Gestalt Therapy in Valencia.
Y con ello el regalo de pasar días antes y después del seminario compartiendo charlas, paseos, arroces por la ciudad.
And also the gift of spending some days before and after with us after the seminar, sharing chats, walking, eating rice and drinking beer in the city.
Me impresionó la disponibilidad y la generosidad de Donna, tanto en el trabajo como en los momentos de disfrute.
I was shocked, surprised by the availability and generosity of Donna's, both in work and in the moments of enjoying.
Tengo el recuerdo de su voz pausada diciendo very special moment, thank you.
I remember her voice saying slowly, very special moment, thank you.
Era una afirmación que dijo muchas veces.
It was a statement that she said many times.
Con ella para mí manifestaba su capacidad de acoger y de dar valor a lo que estaba recibiendo del otro.
For me, this statement showed her capacity of host and welcoming and giving value to what she was receiving from the other.
También me dio mucho gusto percibirla como una mujer conectada con Don, su marido.
She was also it was very beautiful to perceive her as someone connected with Don, her husband.
En muchos momentos de disfrute, de paseo, se acordaba de él.
In many moments of enjoyment, of speaking, and she remembered him very much.
Y para mí, que me gusta el trabajo con parejas,
And for me, that I love working with couples.
era bello percibir cómo iluminaba de esta forma en la distancia su pertenencia a la relación de pareja.
It was very beautiful for me to see how she would bring light all the time to her couple relationship.
Me inspiró cómo describía su vida en comunidad.
I was inspired by how she was describing her life in her community.
Comprometida con las personas mayores con las que compartía su vida junto a su marido.
She was committed to the elder people with whom she was sharing her life together with her husband.
Al vivir en una comunidad de jubilados donde, como ella decía, cada semana puede morir una persona.
She was living in a retirement community where, as she said, every week a person can die.
Era importante para ella que unos cuidaran de otros con conciencia de finitud.
It was very important for her that ones could take care of the others with an awareness of finitude.
Se ocupaba de que nadie muriese sintiéndose solo en su comunidad.
She worked so that no one would die in her community feeling alone.
Nos contaba que dedicaba siempre palabras a las personas que habían muerto para poder ser recordados por los demás.
She told us that she always spent time and found words for the people who had died so that they could be remembered by the others.
Y esto me pareció precioso.
And I thought this was beautiful.
Y me encanta el día de hoy porque en este momento estamos haciendo lo mismo por ella.
And I love what is happening today, what we're doing today, because I feel that we're doing the same thing for her.
Como formadora,
As a trainer,
me maravilló la sabiduría y al mismo tiempo la sencillez con la que fue tejiendo las ideas fundamentales de filósofos desde la fenomenología, que tanto sentido tienen para mí como terapeuta Gestalt.
I was impressed by her wisdom and at the same time the simplicity with which she was intertwining the ideas from philosophers that have a lot of sense to me as a Gestalt therapist.
Fue muy generosa con los trabajos personales en grupo.
She was very generous with the personal pieces of work that we did in the group.
Y podíamos ver cómo Donna era una fiel militante de la hermenéutica de la confianza.
And we could see how Donna was a faithful militant of the hermeneutics of trust.
Me parecía la puesta en forma de lo que nos presentó como la ética radical.
I thought that she was giving shape to what she presented as the radical ethics.
La ética que brota de permanecer atentos y no dar la espalda al rostro que sufre.
The ethics that comes up for being aware and not give your back to the suffering face.
En un momento determinado nos dijo, no tenemos ni idea del trabajo tan valiente que hemos elegido.
At some moment she told us, we have no idea of how brave it is this job we've chosen, how brave we need to be for this job.
Acompañamos a nuestros pacientes por el infierno.
We accompany our clients through hell.
La gente tiene sufrimiento y conflictos.
People have suffer and have conflicts.
Y si les damos un hogar, los pueden trabajar.
And if we give them a home, they can work through them.
Me siento agradecida y honrada de haberla conocido.
I feel grateful and honored of having met her.
Triste de que lo que habíamos iniciado se haya terminado tan pronto.
I'm sad that what we started has finished so soon.
Donna Orange irradió dignidad.
Donna Orange irradiated dignity.
Y nos alcanzó a todos.
And that reached all of us.
Querida Donna, formarás parte de mi coro.
Dear Donna, you will be part of my chorus.
El coro del terapeuta.
The therapist's chorus.
Idea por la que quise conocerte.
And that's one of the ideas for which I wanted to meet you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elvira and David and all the Spanish group. Thank you. Okay. No, maybe Carol or you want to say something? I'm sorry, there is a manifestation here. I don't know if you hear the sounds.
I'll be very brief.
Carol.
Thank you for those beautiful comments, David, from the Spanish group. So moving. And I'll follow with some of your elegant ideas. I think she gave me a new home in the world of philosophy. I was not trained at all with any academic background, but I studied with her for almost 15 years in consult groups. Initially, they were clinical focused and then primarily phenomenology. But she welcomed me. I mean, she did embody all of the Levinasian spirits of opening the flaps of the tent and après-vous. But certainly I lacked so much, as we all do in various places. But this was never something that I felt shame about with her, which is extraordinary. But I think because I felt at home with her, she had that amazing capacity to welcome people and make you feel at home. So she is very much a part of my chorus. I'm not going to say any more because I think your comments were so complete, so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. So I will show the video by Leanne O'Shea from Melbourne. You know that she taught in Australia, I don't know how many times, maybe some of you knows better.
I know it was more than once, a few times, because Don has family in Australia, so they would go there.
Okay, okay, so do you see?
Yes.
Thank you, Margarita, for this opportunity to say a few words about Donna Orange and her impact, both on me personally and our Gestalt community in Australia. You know, I speak for both Gestalt Therapy Australia in Melbourne, and Donna certainly visited us a few times, and also Gestalt Therapy in Brisbane, where I've been teaching for a number of years. And I know in both of those communities, and Donna's work and who Donna is has had a huge impact on, you know, the training of a whole generation of Gestalt therapists. And some of the things I remember most about Donna, and I feel very grateful and privileged to have had a number of experiences of being with Donna in person. And something about the kind of the warmth and the humility and the humanness of really how she engaged with everybody she met. And I'm due to teach a supervision course in a couple of weeks' time, and the focus really is, inspiration from Donna and looking what it is to have clinical hospitality as part of the supervision space. A story that I've told students a number of times is, I remember being at a small workshop that was run in New York, probably 15 years ago or more now. And Donna was there ostensibly to demonstrate the practice of a psychotherapist, as an analyst, but, in watching her, it was profoundly touched by how deeply relational, phenomenological, and how Gestalt looking her work was. And of course, that ground of shared philosophical and epistemological assumptions, made for, I think, the Gestalt community really welcoming Donna almost as one of our own. And, I think her work has just been an incredible gift. And I'm aware of the many, many people who have worked with Donna personally and whose lives have been touched by all that she's offered, all that she's given. And I know those people have felt her loss very deeply. And I feel that loss too. Feel that in the sense of work that is undone, justice work that more than ever needs to be part of what it is to practice in our world. So my hope for me, and I guess for those communities of which I'm a part going forward, is that we can continue to honour Donna's legacy by doing the work that Donna called us to do. Thank you.
Very nice. We have some voices in the chat as well. You can read them. From Yarek, who wrote some. I don't see Donna's husband. Carol, do you see him?
I don't either.
I didn't see him join either. Do you want me to speak a little bit of of Donna's eulogy from when we held the memorial for her in Don's stead while he is not here, or?
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful to do that.
Okay.
Strange
Thank
because
you.
he said just half hour ago, he said he got the link, but then it's not showing, so maybe he mistaken the hour, I don't know, but it's good if you can say something.
Sure, I'd be really happy to. These are the words that I spoke at her memorial in February. It is sometimes said that a kind act creates a ripple without end. My sister Donna was kind, and she was a woman of action. This was not lost on anyone connected to her, from family and friends to colleagues and teammates. If Donna saw something could be done to assist, build up, or comfort another, she was on it. And she was not one to waste a precious moment. Donna's kindness ripples through the lives of those who knew her and well beyond. She began her lifelong practice of service as the eldest of 10. By the time she was 6, she was minding younger siblings, helping to cook and clean, and folding laundry. By the age of 10, she was changing diapers, bathing children, making beds, and carrying responsibility for the well-being and behavior of the younger children. She went on to take care of us through her teen years and somehow managed to keep up with her schoolwork as she did. At 18, continuing in her practice of service, Donna joined the Sisters of the Holy Names. While in the convent, she completed her bachelor's degree in education and became a school teacher in the Catholic schools. She filled that role for about 5 years. However, because Donna proved to be extremely intelligent, she was eventually able to pursue a master's in philosophy. While teaching philosophy at Seattle University, she continued in the pursuit of a PhD. By the time Donna left the convent at the age of 35, she had moved to New York City to take up graduate schools in psychology. She wanted to put into practice her personal philosophy of helping those in need. While continuing to teach philosophy, she worked relentlessly to obtain another advanced degree. She was driven to provide direct service to those suffering from trauma. I had been only 3 years old when Donna joined the convent, so did not grow up knowing her very well. It was during her early years in New York that she and I bonded. This happened because I found a summer internship at a lab on Long Island. Though she often had much academic work to attend to, she welcomed me on weekends as a guest in her small apartment in the Riverdale neighborhood of the Bronx. Determined that I could navigate New York City independently, she set out to teach me how to get around. Once the basics of the subway tokens and turnstiles were out of the way, she got serious. Quote unquote, when traveling by subway, be aware of everyone in the subway car at all times. Do not look anyone in the eye. Always carry mugger money. Immediately hand it to any threatening individual. And remember, coffee with milk is coffee regular. She steered me toward museums, bagels, soft pretzels, and Zabar's, which remains the best deli I've ever been to. In the mid-'80s, I relocated to Amsterdam, a move that was likely imaginable because I had experienced my big sister's landing in New York City firsthand. As I came and went on visits to the US, I was always welcomed in New York City. Visits to the Met, runs in Central Park, and yummy lunches in New York delis are memories carved in my mind. Throughout the years, Donna was always ready to lend a hand when I needed it. Once, at about 2 a.m., during travel gone seriously wrong, thousands of US-bound passengers arrived late at JFK and waited for hours in line to be rerouted. Donna came to JFK to get me, my luggage, and my bike. Took me to an all-night diner for a meal and dropped me at LaGuardia early the next morning for my flight. If it weren't for her, I may still be stranded at JFK now. During the early 90s, we independently learned to play bridge, and from then on found a way to get a game in on visits. One time during COVID, when I called on her birthday, Patty and I played an online game with Donna and Dawn. Cell phones on the speaker, we all had a pretty good time. As most of you know, Donna completed her doctorate in psychology, went on to develop a thriving private practice, and to write articles and books integrating philosophy and psychology. She was in demand as a supervisor for other psychotherapists, as a speaker and teacher worldwide. Because she was invited to speak and teach in Germany and Italy on a regular basis, she studied and became fluent in German and Italian. In 2018, at the age of 74, she became the world's oldest recipient of the Fulbright Scholarship. Because of her scholarly work, she has significantly influenced thinking in a branch of psychoanalysis so that her drive to ease suffering caused by trauma will live on and touch lives in perpetuity. Donna also made room in her life for volunteer work. When New York City was attacked on 9/11, she made herself available to counsel those most traumatized. While AIDS remained unsolved and underfunded, she biked hundreds of miles in treacherous conditions in Alaska to raise funds for research. And since living at Pilgrim Place, she has knit countless scarves and hats to raise money for the community. In her lifetime, Donna was a big sister, a Catholic sister, a teacher, a mentor, a philosopher, a psychoanalyst, a contributor, a leader, a scholar, an author, a volunteer, a competitive athlete, a team player, a friend, a colleague, and a companion. Kind, loving, generous, compassionate, humble, supportive, committed, tenacious, caring, considerate, curious, thoughtful, inspiring, passionate, brilliant, distinguished, groundbreaking. This is just a taste of the words I found over and over from reading the many online tributes I found after her accident. When I asked her best friend, she said simply, Donna was a gift. Donna's fine qualities were not lost on her husband, Don. He took a deep interest in her work, built a professional website for her, proofread and edited papers and manuscripts, traveled with her to conferences, rooted for her at bike races, and was her biggest fan. Donna filled the final decades of Donna's life with abiding love and companionship. I believe I can speak for all of my siblings in expressing our happiness that Donna found each other, and that he knew a gem when he found one. We are grateful for the joy he brought to her life and are so glad to have him in our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Captured what I saw when Donna and Don were together too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here, Carol. And we can
Thank
hear this
you.
from you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can start to close this memorial.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for their contributions, and the contribution of being here, even with your silence, is so much part of this group. So I thank those who have spoken, and I thank those who have remained silent. The unspoken spoken.
We're all bearing witness.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything that you said. Each of you brings me closer to my own memories of Donna, which are sweet and special.
Carol, may I ask that fellow behind you? Is
Oh, this is my wife, Patty.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
I was out birding, so I didn't know I was going to be on international Zoom here.
Great.
Thank you.
I'll be birding in Bhutan soon, actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're all invited to Central Park, which has the best birding around, believe it or not.
Yeah.
We've done that there.
Yeah.
Well, when Donna and Don got married, we went over there. Yeah. So.
And I just want to say that you can come to New York now and it is safe. You don't have to have mugger money.
I'll try to relay that to our government.
I say that if you're mugged in New York, a tourist did it.
A tourist did it. Yeah. Thank you, Margarita, for taking so much responsibility and putting all this together. And of course, Lynn and Dan as well. But Margarita, you really were a force of nature. Not unusual, but
That's just what I was thinking.
Oh, can I ask one thing? Someone mentioned it might have been called Gestalt Today, or it was some publication that had a number of memorials.
Gestalt Review.
Gestalt Review, the Gestalt Review, and also my journal, which is it has half of the issue is dedicated to Donna, and it's open access, so you can see it. It's free. You can see it open access. I can send you the link.
I would love that. I would really appreciate that. And
I'll write the editor of Gestalt Review and see if I can get copies of the pieces for you, Carol.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if they're allowed to do it, but if so, I'll get them to you.
Thank you. And if anybody has additional information about or some of the things, for example, Margarita, that you listed out her various conferences over those years, that is the kind of information that I would love to collect for that Wikipedia page.
I can send you the file where I gathered all the information, and today I added the 3 things that I didn't know.
Great.
I can send you that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. For those who want, this is the link to the open access journal, which is in Italian, but if any of you reads Italians, there are a few articles on Donna.
Also, how do people, someone asked, Alexandra wants to know the recording. How do we all receive the recording? Do we have to write, or is it just come, or?
Oh, here Donald is. Hello, Don. The video will be available in a few days on the site, and then whoever can share it on the site of the Institute, where you have gather the link to the. You want the link for the video, Elaine?
Somebody wants to know how we get the link for this video, the recording.
I meant the link to the articles, Margarita, that you mentioned. Oh, I think you should. Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is the link to the articles in Italian, and about the Gestalt Review. I think you all know how to get those articles, but they are not articles. They are just brief memories about Donna. Don, hello.
Hello.
Is everything okay?
Everything's fine. I'm just checking ahead of time to be sure that my connection is good.
We are just finishing, Don, because but if you want to say a couple of words, we are finishing in 5 minutes. And we expected you before. We expected you.
Yeah, well, I will wait. I'm very happy to be able to be with all of you who are gathered to honor Donna. And I checked in earlier and I see that Carol Orange is there, her sister, and I heard some of Carol's talk. And I have prepared a few minutes, but my understanding is that you wish me to wait until you all reconvene. Is that right?
Oh, okay. No, okay. Our understanding is that you enter at 15 past.
Yes, so I'm early. I will now mute and
15
disappear.
past the last hour.
Yeah, there was a confusion about the times
Oh,
on the West Coast.
okay. Well, I will disappear and then at 12:15 still, I should come back.
No, we are finishing.
We're finishing now.
Oh, you're finishing for the day. Oh, okay.
But we'll have a recording. We'll have a recording of the day
Okay.
for you. But
Yes, and Carol said something. Carol, Donna's sister, said something about Donna. And so I'm sorry, but we have to close. We have to finish.
Okay.
I want to say that we saw a beautiful picture of you and Carol. Excuse me, you and Donna together. It was just very touching.
Oh, was this when we were
Vienna.
getting ready for the ball in Vienna?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
with our tuxedo and black
And
dress.
with your dancing shoes on.
That's it. We were going to the dance and
But if you had something that you prepared to say, Don, maybe
I do.
we can,
Yeah.
can we hear it now?
You do it now? Oh, okay. I just thought you might be interested in the last few days. I don't know how much Carol covered, and if I repeat what she said, I ask your forgiveness. But so on November 12th at 15 hours, Donna was riding her bike, and the next day she was flying to Milano to do some work with probably a lot of you folks. And she was all packed, and she was riding pretty fast on a pretty big road, and someone coming at her did a left turn and basically hit Donna on the bike. I was on my way from LAX. Excuse me, I had taken someone to the airport, so I was on a freeway, unable to move much when I got a call from the hospital. And Donna in the hospital, I briefly saw her when she was changing rooms, and then they wouldn't let me. So when I did finally catch up with her in the room, she was in a coma. She was unconscious. And the medical people tell me that she was unconscious immediately when she slammed into the black SUV, and that she never regained her consciousness. So it was sad I never got a chance to say goodbye. But on the other hand, I knew that she was without pain because they had her hooked up to fentanyl. And I think that indicates what was wrong. And just excuse me, just so you get a quick view of what happened to her, she had heavy cranial bleeding in the head, a lot, and her facial bones were broken. They would have to have been repaired surgically. Two of her vertebrae were compromised. Both the clavicle bones, up here, were broken. And her 11 ribs were broken. She had a collapsed lung. Her right arm was broken, and her left hip was just beyond broken. It was smashed, and I don't know if they ever could have repaired that. On November 13th, that's the next day, in her hospital room, the trauma surgeon came in, and her very good bicycle friend, Fairbairn Powers, was there with me at the time. And the surgeon told us the following. He said that Donna was so banged up that even after 6 months of very, very painful physical and other therapy, after 6 months of being treated, Donna would still need a feeding tube and a breathing tube. And when I heard that, I said, no way. Don and I had talked about end of life matters, and we both agreed that we made each other promise that we would not keep each other alive in such a condition, even a less severe condition. So Don and I, we had discussed this. I'm almost finished. So on November 16th, she was hit on the 12th, and she was kept alive basically with tubes to give family a chance to come, and Carol was there, and others of Donna's family were there for the death. And my son came from Australia. And basically that Saturday afternoon, November 12th, I had given permission to remove her from life support, and we gathered around her bed, and that's exactly what happened. And I have no doubt that that's what Donna would have wanted. If I had tried to keep her alive with all that brokenness, she would have never forgiven me for the rest of our lives. I just know it from what we had said. So I had no hesitation in having the tubes taken out. Her ashes, when we agreed to cremate, her ashes are buried in a memorial garden here at Pilgrim Place in Claremont, California, which is a CCRC, a continuing care retirement center. And there's a memorial garden where we both agreed that our ashes would be buried, and that our names would be on a plaque. So I will close by just saying, sorry, my dear Donna, I loved you so for 20 years, and I love you now, and I will love you forever. Thank you very, very much for this chance to speak. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here, Don.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for being so open with us.
I can't help it. It's clear I'm still grieving some, but that grieving takes a long, long time. And I'm so appreciative that you all gathered to talk about her work. And I know she was on her way to Milan when she took her last bike ride, and she would have been with a lot of you. So
yes, we were supposed to work together for 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days, yes. Her suitcase is still packed. I haven't been able to unpack it yet, but thank you all very much for listening, for giving me that extra time. I know you're ready to end the conference.
Can we also take a moment, thank you, Don, to just let ourselves feel ourselves together from what you said, Don, so we feel ourselves with you and you with us. Let's take a moment of silence just for a moment.
Thank you.
We say goodbye.
Yeah, I feel very grateful to you, Don, because you came. I was so shocked about this story that, I was waiting for her. And this memorial was a way of closing also this tragedy. And I had no words for many, many, many months.
Yes. No, I knew, Margarita, I knew you were the person I needed to contact. And I looked in Donna's iPad, and there you were. That's how I got your address. But I knew you needed to know. And my understanding is that Lynne filled in for her, and that's great.
Yeah. So maybe we can pray in our heart for Donna and for all of us. And this is something I would like very much to do, which is an applause for Donna, for what she has been and for us, and what she has been for psychotherapy. Can we make a big applause to her?
You're certainly welcome.
You should have to.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Don, so much for coming and telling us the details.
You're so welcome. I thought you should know.
So
I thought you should
important
know.
hearing.
I thought you should know.
Thank you, Don.
You're so welcome.
Thank you,
And
Don.
I'll now sign out and let you get on with your work.
We all
Thank
sign out now and say goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
We're all signing out.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Don.
Margarita.
Bye.
Very important.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Margarita.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you to the organizers.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you all. Goodbye.
I'm holding on. I'm actually going for a ride right now.
Karen,
Perfect.
I love you.
I love you. I hope that when I ride, I always think of Donna, that I can start shifting the rage I have felt to remembering her in a different light, because I have been so enraged. But this has helped a lot in grieving. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol.
Organizers.
See you in
And
our Donna group next Monday.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Margarita, thank you for all that you did to put this together. I'm
Oh.
heading too.
We all